Hello and welcome to another beautiful time on Executive Discuss. I am Ololade Adinijadele. On this show, what we do is to seek out individuals who have made a mark for themselves, people who have carved a niche for themselves in their chosen field of endeavors. Today, I have with me a guest. He is a political science graduate. He is also a graduate of business administration. In fact, a first-class degree holder. Well, he has also delved into other things. He has several business interests, hospitality industry, technology, and so much more. He is also, very importantly, a philanthropist, somebody who is given back not just to his immediate society, but to the entire society at large. Please join me as we welcome on Executive Discuss today, Dr. Obiora Okonkwo. Hello, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, too, for allowing us into your space.
Well, you're always welcome.
Thank you very much. Now, maybe for the purpose of our viewers who do not know you so well, I understand, how you grew up. I understand your beginnings, your closeness to your father and all of that. But for the sake of our viewers, take us through what it was like, your childhood.
A very long story. You can imagine if a man who is over 50 years old will tell you about his childhood story.
Break it down as much as you can to us.
Well, what can I say? It's a life that started in my remote village, Ogidi in particular. Though I was born in Gombe, the northern part of Nigeria. And that was just shortly before the Civil War, in the thick of it. So the whole family had to relocate. The stress of coming back. So I have no memory of how it was in the north and the journey back home because I was just a few months old. I think I can start my story from my Ntakala years. Have you heard of Ntakala?
No.
Ntakala is like it's like our own rural kindergarten.
Okay.
It wasn't like that kindergarten you are driven to school, you have your teachers, you have lunch break or stuff like that. We started our own school experience under the tree. So from there, primary school up to primary 4 in my hometown, Ogidi in Anambra State. And then I went to the city. So I started my primary 4 in the city, Onitsha, which a very big commercial city in Anambra State. So there My dad is just about 12 kilometers from Ogidi. So my dad was already resident there. He had his business in the main market. And then I had to go to school, primary school. He was looking after me and my elder sister, who was already studying in the city in secondary school. At that point, the other older siblings were either in one boarding school or the other. So it's a big family of 8, and we all gather home on holidays. And for somebody like me, we study in Onitsha from Monday to Friday, then go back
At the weekend.
with my dad and all the weekend activities. So so I was just in between Onitsha and Ogidi. But the interesting thing was that from primary 4 when I got to Onitsha, after school, my dad at that point was still in the market, so he wouldn't let me go home because he would think that if I'm home alone, he could not guarantee what my activities would
That you
be.
won't get into trouble.
Or the companies I could keep, or even if I could become the trouble myself. So at first, I would go to a friend of his who was then in between school and market. So he was a teller. So I'll be hanging in there until my dad finishes in the market, and then we come back and we all work home. And I will be learning how to stitch the buttons and the buttonholes.
Oh.
So I can still do that perfectly
You have
very
some
well
tailoring
now.
experience.
Oh yes, just at that point. But it helps me to take care of my domestic affairs. It was so up to the point I got to like primary 6. Then I was a little bit advanced more in age. Then I would have been about 9 years, about 9-10 years. So I would walk from school now to the market. It was a great experience because I was looking forward to it every day. When you get to the market, you got to eat the mama put in the market, which was one of the best things you see around town. And then obviously you can make some money because you always have the apprentices around my dad who would be running what they saw also Afia in Igbo language. They just put some marker. If somebody comes to buy something from the store, they might send me to go pick it up. And I make some money. So at that point, I was actually making enough money.
At age 9, 10?
I was making enough money for myself and my friends. Even in my secondary school days, after school,
you come back to the market.
I still go back to the market. So up until at the age of 14, when I was in class 3, my dad had stroke at a very young age. He was actually 50. Wow. And then it was just something new. It wasn't really as common, as rampant as now. So it actually affected his ability to run the business. So my other senior brother was already in the university. So I was the one closest to the business. It fell on me at that early age of 14. Yeah. So at that point, I became a Oga for myself. And apprentices under me, those who are working with my dad. So that we managed until I finished my class 5. And then with that environment, money, budget, account in my hands, I had no doubt that I was born to be a trader and that my life would end up in Onitsha.
In Onitsha.
So everything I was in at that point was to make sure it happened that way, including making sure I didn't pass JAMB. So my brother would be sure
can you take that again?
Oh, yes. He was as silly as that.
You made sure it was, an effort on your part not to pass JAMB.
So that my elder brother would now see the reason
for you
he
to
shouldn't
stay
even
there.
bother that I should go to the university yet. So that was what happened. And he didn't.
And you failed it?
Yes, unfortunately. He didn't take it lightly. So out of annoyance, he had to close down the business. Yes, my brother closed down the business, said, "Nan, let's see what else you have to do." So it's either school or nothing.
But didn't that affect the upkeep of the family?
Oh, not quite, because at that point, he had graduated from the university. He had a good job. My sisters had married, and we had brother-in-laws. You know how family then was. Everybody was each other's brother's keeper, and the family didn't need really that much, to be all right. And my mom was also having her home stuff she was doing. So we never had really that hard time to worry about what to eat or how to take care of the basic. It wasn't an issue. Yeah, it wasn't a problem at all, and it wasn't a problem. We had enough from all the support around for everybody to take care of himself. For me, at that point, I really didn't need any support. I was already a big guy. I wasn't depending on anybody for anything. So it was for that reason I felt I should now have to face school and go back to Lagos. So I went to Lagos. I went to Federal School of Arts and Science.
Oh, Victoria
Yeah,
Island.
Victoria Island. So from there, I had to sort out myself educationally. And at that point, I wanted to go to overseas to study. So that was what happened. And in the process of the arrangement to go to study overseas, then I took up a job. It wasn't a job that was meant to mean anything. It was just like my sister running into this big guy then who had industries, a great importer, and saying, "Hey, I have this my small brother who's at home eating and doing nothing." So you might as well find him anywhere in the office, even if he's sweeping the floor, so that you have place to go and come back and live in him while he's making his arrangements. So obviously the guy obliged. He had nothing to lose. He was moving into a new office, and he needed somebody to dust the place until he gets back in 2 weeks' time. But that was another turning point, because in the process of arranging and packing stuff, I got to know about the guy's business activities. Great importer, industrialist, but it was within that period, Nigeria was stopping the method and system of import license and migrating to second-tier foreign exchange markets. So it was a new era for everybody studying the new system, and importers had to bid to get foreign exchange, none waiting for import license. So I had to study the needs of the man and then study the procedures for bidding, within that period. And by the time the man came back in 2 weeks, I was already suggesting to him possible ways he can source foreign exchange in the new system. He was surprised, but I made sense. And he decided to give me a chance to try. And I took it up. The short version of the story was that for about 2 years plus, I stayed there. He employed no other person higher than me. I was in charge of the business. I provided everything he needed and more, even for his friends. Wow. I was such a superstar. I had solution to that. I mastered the system. And that actually exposed me now to non-international marketing business procedures, importations and all that. So in a very, very practical terms, and the way things work around here in Nigeria, because it was a dealing I was having then at the highest level. You can imagine this teenager walking into the office of managing director of a bank. Wow. Oh, the guy was a big guy. And I created such a trust and confidence that I could sign off. I had a single signatory account to the man's business.
You?
Yes. So because the way the man had his business, nature is industries, his factories, everything, and all the resources they generate were put in the bank because the licensing office in Lagos was handling all the importations, both for machineries, raw materials, and trading products. So, and they trusted me that much that all the money will go into the account, and it is now left for me to sign the checks to which bank I had a good deal that will offer me the amount of foreign exchange that I needed. And this foreign exchange those days used to be in millions of dollars, and so I suggested that he could get in also blank invoices so that you have the exchange, you fill the invoice and send to the importer, because you can never get it all at once, because of scarcity and all that, and the spread that was needed. So it was such a big volume that sometimes within a month, depending on the need, I had signed off some checks of about 40 million naira then.
You, the teenager?
Yes, and 40 million naira then, and the exchange rate of naira to dollar was quite over 50 million US dollars. It's not a one-time check, but it was just, caught in between. Naira was really
doing really well
was
then.
really doing well. So 1 million is already, it's not like today. So, and the guy was really big. He was one of the biggest Igbo men in the country then, So with that experience, I had my scholarship to study in Russia.
I was just going to ask if you forgot about school completely. Now you got into business?
That came because then my brother continued to hit on me that this is not the day, that's not the stopping place. And then so I had this scholarship. Life was very good then. I was happy. I was working hard. I was making other people happy. My boss was very proud of me. And I didn't make up my mind quickly about going to Russia because I'd actually wanted to go to US. Yeah, so, but that delayed my departure. So I put in another 1 year, and luckily the scholarship was deferred. So at the end of the day, I went to Russia. And I didn't know what to expect, but I was sure I wasn't going to like it. Because the only thing I know about Russia then was seeing their players in a world football tournament with their jersey written CCCP. That's all.
Wow.
It wasn't like the days of today's of internet,
where you can just
Google
search.
and make it. No, nothing. I knew nothing. So, but
and you went without knowing anything about it.
I went without knowing much about that country, not the language, not much. And but on arriving, it didn't take me quite a long time to get acquainted with the place, assess it, and fell in love with the place because I saw the great opportunities. Education was excellent. I was in the Russian Friendship University, which is the best university in Russia. Wow. And it's an Ivy League. And it was at the center of Moscow. And then a lot of opportunities were there. You could travel to any part of the world. The stipend you were paid as a student would be enough to take care of you through the whole session. And then you save enough to travel on holiday.
On holidays.
Yeah, so, but for us, with a strong business background, we never traveled to work, but we saw business opportunities in Russia.
Wow.
Being a communist environment, then a lot of the products were priced very low. And there were older students who were there, and they were already engaged in trading.
In similar business.
Yeah, they could just buy things made in Russia, come to Nigeria.
So you were doing
sell.
buying and selling.
Exactly. So we started, but in fact, 3 months after my arrival in Russia, I was back to Nigeria with some with some stuff to say.
3 months.
3 months, within 3 months. So I had arrived in September. Academic session starts every 5th of September. So I had arrived in September, and then obviously by a winter holiday, which was around January, February, I was back to Nigeria for my holiday. And so...
Not just back for your holidays, you were also back for business.
For business, oh yes. Oh yes, I was back for business. It was business, but one funny thing happened then that I said I wasn't gonna mix business with studies. Yes, I was going to make money, but I would be studying for the next semester. I came with my books, and I left the books behind because I even forgot that I came with the books. So you just how to know that it was such a fun time when I came back with a lot of products to sell, and I made a lot of money. And it was so till sometime 2-3 years. By that time, the country was opening up more. Then, the perestroika, the glasnost, and then there was opportunity to have private companies. So we were the first set of people that set up a private company.
Wow.
In Russia.
In Russia.
So as a second year, third year student, I already had my business fully registered.
Wow.
Had my office fully staffed, doing importation in Russia, exporting things out of Russia. So that was the business. By the time I was finishing my master's, I was already having my branches in Nigeria and other parts of the world. I had office in Hong Kong, had a production plant in China, So it was really very hectic.
So, and the rest is history, as
the rest is history. I'm here. I finished my studies. That is where that training I got from childhood. Never had time to waste. My dad would not even allow me to play soccer. The easy thing you should do.
Wow.
And he just doesn't think that anybody should waste time. And as a child, and maybe because of tendencies I had, he misinterpreted my tendencies, maybe my brilliance, my smartness, as this guy, I gotta be careful with him.
He could be up to some mischief.
Oh, yeah. So he wouldn't give me a minute. Wow. Even when we were lying down, he would make sure I sleep on the same bed with him.
He just had to monitor you.
And even on the same bed, he wouldn't even let me be. Because if he sees I'm not sleeping, he would rather say I should be scratching his head.
To keep you busy.
So unbelievable. That was just what I went through, my dear sister. I went through that.
Wow.
Never had a minute of anything.
Wow.
That was why he picked me out of my whole siblings and say I should live with him. So he should, that the way he's seen this guy, he's up to something.
He's up to something. Some form of, but interestingly, I'm sure he must have seen something in you too that he did not see in your other siblings.
Well, he saw it, but he may probably be misinterpreting it that if I don't take care of this guy, he'll bring shame to my family.
To the family. So obviously your father had a lot of influence on you. But I didn't hear you talk much about your mother.
Oh.
How did she fit into all of this?
No, she had her own great part. My father, all we'll be talking about was the discipline part. Is there. Then, if you flip the other side of it, about faith, my mother is mother of faith. Wow. Everything about upbringing, my faith, my dedication to God, and all that is my mother. She is her role. Because, but in terms of the other discipline, my dad was in charge. That if he had to clamp on you, my mother would rather join. If it's me, You know, she could be beating me from the other side, and then she may have to ask later, what did I do? You know what I
After
mean?
having dealt with you.
You know, it's just like this guy, we must get him, you know,
Get him in shape.
Yeah, so, but she's a great influence from that aspect. So it was
From
a
the
balanced,
spiritual
yeah,
aspect.
the spiritual aspect. It's so balanced. I don't know how they're able to do that. And I can talk of the same within all my siblings.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet, and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world.
You know, those days, going overseas, Obodo is not just like what
Was a
happens
big
very
thing.
commonly. So when you're departing, there'll be family, party, and send forth. You know, reasonably that time I had shown some level of maturity and responsibility. So the talk was, okay, you're doing great. We don't have any doubt about your ability to survive. Jide Kiji, that is, keep it up. So my mother was the last person to speak. And she didn't say much than, okay, everything you've said is great. I believe that's the true story about him, but she had to add something else. If I'm going to Russia to forget about my Catholicism, my going to church, my faith, my rosary, everything, then anything I want in Russia will never come to pass. She was that strong.
Wow.
She was that strong.
That was deep.
She was that strong. And she added, secondly, if I'm going there to marry a Igbo woman, that let God not even make it possible for me to live.
Wow. She was that determined about this
She
thing.
was that determined about it. And for me, it wasn't a big deal. And believe you me, it remained in my subconsciousness all my stay in Russia. Because as soon as I go there, the first thing I ask of where
Is the
the
Catholic
Catholics
Church.
were gathering. And that's it. I became part of that Catholic community. You know, as young guys, we still do what we have to do, party. If I have to party up to the point that I might put my head on the bed and be late to church, no matter the weather, whether it's -35, I'd rather stay awake and then finish 8 o'clock mass, because only one mass. If you miss it, no
Okay,
other
that's
mass.
all. Wow.
Yes, and finish 8 o'clock mass before I come back now to have my sleep. Yeah. So, and everybody in the campus, in city of Moscow, knew me for that. No, and then I had to even join choir of my small Catholic community, and obviously with the Igbo people, hello, from a distance.
Yes.
I mean, even if you come close, not to marry.
Hello.
Hello, my mother told me.
Yeah, my
you
mother
know.
warned me about you. Wow.
know,
So you stuck to it.
Oh, yes. And I bet it was worth it.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
So obviously your father had his own influence, your mother had hers.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. In making sure that the discipline was not compromised, you know, this story that is hard for people to believe. I remember when I was in primary 2, I had come home in the evening. My dad wanted to help me to do my homework. It would be about around 6, 7 o'clock. That time there was not even electricity in the village at all. Everything was dark. You have to use lantern and all that to study. And then all of a sudden I had to bring out my ruler. You know that ruler?
Yes.
I don't know if they're still using that wooden stuff. that is probably worth nothing. So, and then my exercise book, you know, very happy my dad, who was hardly around, you know, there with me. Because this guy just goes out there to do the work. My mom was fully domestic. Yeah, yeah. So in the process of trying to draw my line, my dad discovered that ruler was not bearing my name. And they asked where my own ruler was. Oh, I said, oh yeah, my friend took my own, and then this must have been my neighbor's own. I'll drop it off for him tomorrow. Okay. So you're not an armed robber?
Wow.
You are not a thief.
Wow.
Oh, that was a big problem. My dad said I was a thief. And it was better for him to kill me by himself that night and bury me instead of growing up to become a thief. It was a big problem. It was a big problem. And indeed, he was prepared to kill me that I was a thief. And I suspected. My mom had to come to intervene. My sister had to join my mom. Everybody was begging. And then they struck a compromise. That the only reason why it could look as if it's okay until I take that ruler back to the same spot that I picked it. Not any other place. My mother begged, it's night, she will take it. Tomorrow give it to the owner. He didn't want to listen.
He wanted you to do that night?
That night. Otherwise, he would have proceeded with his plan for me. And at the end of the day, he was gone.
No.
Oh, yes, my dear sister.
You returned the ruler?
Then my mom, my sister with a lantern. We walked. Thank God my school wasn't that far away from my home. My school would have been maybe about 150 meters from my home. So I had to walk back, not even in the school, in the class. My spot in the class, I dropped it here and came back. That was the only thing that brought peace. It looks strange, but what lesson did I learn from it?
Never to bring
I
home
will never
what does
which
not belong
home,
to you.
which home, never even to look at somebody else's thing. Talk less of stealing it, talk less of wanting to have it. So his message is, I bought you your own ruler. If you want something, tell me.
Be
Don't
content
take somebody
with what
else.
you have.
That was the message. And up to today, that's my life. It was hard. It was hard, but there's no other way to teach me that tough lesson. So you might look back and say, oh, what a hard guy. But when I look back and I reflect, I say, thank you, Dad, for making me what I am.
For making me what I am.
You know, and you know, most of these things that would have made somebody gone astray, he sends them. He didn't have such a problem with my senior brother. He was just like a perfect child. He wouldn't mess around with anything. If it was his rule, if you had seen him with that ruler, he would have said, okay, okay, no problem. He wouldn't even have bothered because he was sure he knew what he was in.
But he wasn't sure about that for you.
Because I got some tendencies that were not like really like any other normal child, you know. So, and the felt he got to battle this thing until who knows where that was coming from. And it was just like one of the instances that really shaped my life. My faith teaches me that faith without good work is nothing. Coupled with the fact that I tell whoever wants to know that I have only one ambition in life, and that is to go to heaven and then going to heaven, it can only walk on it on earth. And it has to be with their talent, your material resources, and everything you have. So that is what determines how I relate. My father was a very generous person. So is my mom. We grew up in a family where everything was about sharing. You know, it's not that family you eat in a dining table or with a plate. You know, communal stuff. The villagers will come and collect what they don't have. My dad was feeding a lot of people, not because he had a lot. And he would always tell us that you don't have to have everything in the world for you to give. It's just that everything you have, you must share. You know, so for me, I don't know anything else about life than just what makes meaning to me is service. And that you may not have observed influences my own business ventures. I am not really money making person. If I'm all about money, maybe I would have so much. But I engage in things that add value to people's life, service.
Through Dr. Obiora Okonkwo's scholarship program, I had the rare privilege of being trained internationally in most of the best schools and maritime academies in the world. My journey started here in Ogidi, Anambra State, and in the course of my professional studies, I have been trained in one of the best academies in the Philippines, as well as the Arab Academy for Science, Technology and Maritime Transport, Alexandria, Egypt.
For me, I promote culture. It is who we are. And we must not allow our culture to die. I am very, very worried because we are losing some of those things. And I do tell these people, parents, my father did not go to secondary school. My mom was not educated. They were brilliant. They had all the wisdom they needed based on their upbringing within the culture. I can sit and have conversation with my mom in our vernacular. She has knowledge of everything. Same like my father. And they were wise enough, without going to school, without having been to London or America, to bring us to be responsible citizens. Today, we parents who think we know a better thing to do are not able to bring our kids to be responsible. Our kids who think they know better than us are not growing enough to be responsible to themselves before even for the society. And this is society we live in.
That he is a man of integrity, highly patriotic, who also believes in the culture of his people. I no wonder why every weekend he's going to Ogidi, his hometown. He's a wonderful person.
I'm in politics already. I'm not going into politics. Because when you say I'm going into politics, like I'm still thinking about it.
So you made up your mind.
I'm in
and you're
politics. To start with, I have a strong political background.
there. Tell us about it.
I have a PhD in political science.
Yes, that I know.
That's the highest you can go.
That I know.
And I have a distinction at that matter. You see, it's called political science.
The science of politics.
Politics is a science. Don't just think otherwise. But today, the practice is being misinterpreted. People have the gift of leadership. They don't force themselves on people. People follow them. It's a grace. It's a gift. So now, what we have seen here, apart from that thing that you are talented, another way also to get into it is to learn it.
Okay.
Everything has an act of learning, has the method that you can follow and know it. You may not be a born medical doctor, but if you go to school and follow the stages, you become a good one. You are not born a lawyer, but you can go to university, law school, and become a lawyer. But today, political leaders don't have any license.
To practice politics.
There's no license. There's no certification. It's only by self-proclamation. Somebody wakes up one day and say, I am a politician. And he's a politician, he joins into political business. And before you know it, for one reason or the other, not for knowledge, but maybe for loyalty to the kingmakers, or maybe for sentiment, or other thing, he's given certain responsible leadership positions. And then he starts directing the life you live. And then you find out that the most important thing in our life, leadership,
Is missing.
is left mostly in the hands of those who may not have been prepared for it, who may not have been talented to do that, who may not have been groomed to do that. And we had chosen to mind our business and just simply complain.
So it's safe to say that you're in the political space to provide the change that is actually needed.
I better put it this way. Being in a political leadership position will give you a bigger platform to be of service to the people. I am not a competitive person. No. I don't think that's, I can't characterize myself properly, and I'm not competitive because I like to do things my own way, my own terms. And I rather try to do things different from what others, the way others do it, whether my fashion, and when I go to places, I don't try to imitate what they have learned or what they do. I try to discover what they are not doing and do it my own way. So I'm really not a competitive person. I also don't think I'm a lucky person. I'm not lucky. I can say I am blessed. There's a difference between being lucky and being blessed. I've never had anything easy. I've never won 1,000 naira in any form of lottery or all this game, never. I've never won any of those. Every single thing had gone through the stages and procedures. Nothing had come to me easy, nothing. So that's not lucky. So, but because I am blessed, I am driven by God's grace. And my desire, as always, to remain in His presence and to worship Him. I love God, and all I pray for, and all I want, is to remain in His favors. I have to strive to mean the things that please God.
He's a loving husband. He's a very good friend. He's my mentor. He's my coach. He's my teacher. He's a God-fearing person, and he's my voice of reason. Well, different times. Sometimes he has more. Sometimes he has less. But as things heat up, when he has time, he likes to. When he's at home or when he's in town, he tries to spend quality time at home. He's a very homely person, so when he's in town, he hardly goes anywhere. Most of his meetings are conducted around the house so that he has more time to spend with the family.
He's like a father to me, to all of that stuff. He has groomed all of us. We don't work like staff to employee. It's like a team. He comes to us. He grooms us. He shares our ideas. He doesn't boss us. So I tell my friends, I tell everybody around me that he's one of the best people I've ever worked with.
Well, I know that for me, in my younger years, I love to dance. I love to party.
Oh, yeah.
And I had them all. But in this busy time, most of my recreational activities happen within the gym and the spa.
Wow.
I can actually do 5 hours at the gym.
Wow.
And that 5 hours, for me, going to the gym is a relaxation, it's a destination. I don't work out because of shape. It's joy for me. Most of my ideas are created around this kind of environment. Working out, relax, it gives me a whole lot of relaxation. so I can spend my whole day between the gym and the spa. You know, I'm really a home person. I don't go out a lot. I try to create my comfort around me, and I enjoy good time with old friends. It's hard for me to make new friends, but old friends, good time hanging out is good. And I love being around family environment. So when I'm with my kids, it means the whole world to me, and I can relax in between. I'm more of a natural thinker than a reader, but occasionally I can read motivational books, you know, but I'm more of a thinker than a reader, yeah. And I get a lot of inspiration from well-worded gospel music.
Thank you very much, Dr.
You're welcome.
Obiora Okonkwo. It's been a pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have been speaking with Dr. Obiora Okonkwo, who incidentally is a High Chief of Anambra State. A deep thinker, somebody who believes that you do not tell him about the storms you went through, but deliver the cargo. This is a man who we have found worthy to be our guest today. We do hope you've had a wonderful time with us. Why don't you join us again same time next week, where we'll be bringing you another chief executive. You never can tell who it will be. Till then, I remain Ololade Adeniji Adele. Have a fantastic time. God bless you and God bless Nigeria. Bye-bye.